Hi guys, so welcome back to Duosday. This is going to be the first, interview of the series. I decided I would talk about my own struggles first, and in the following weeks you will be seeing and hearing from a bunch of wonderful people who have volunteered to be part of this project as well. There are such a wide variety and range of illnesses and struggles that you will see and hear about. Now, I just want to say, just as a trigger warning, in these interviews we will be talking about what these illnesses are, how they affect us, medications, what they do to us in everyday life, and if you're not able to handle that, I suggest clicking away from this video, but just as a forewarning, I don't want anyone to be triggered by what you are going to be hearing and seeing. Now, I sort of talked about my own struggles in the intro video. I am diagnosed bipolar and major depressive. I also have anxiety, especially in crowds and in public. Now, to kind of describe what bipolar is, it's in general, well, I guess it's hard to explain just because it's different for every single person, but it's usually, I like to keep it simple and say I'll switch from high and low moods often, or sometimes I'll be stuck in a high or low mood for days or even months, and I don't really have control over it. No matter what I do, I will stay in that same state. Now, to kind of give a little more detail into that, I decided to pull up on my phone what WebMD kind of describes bipolar and what the symptoms are. It says, includes symptoms such as high energy, reduced need for sleep, and loss of touch with reality. Depressive episodes may include symptoms such as low energy, low motivation, and loss of interest in daily activities. Mood episodes last days to months at a time, like I said. It may also be associated with suicidal thoughts. Now, just to keep anybody from worrying too much about me, I do have thoughts like that, but it's something I would never act on. I have personally, and this is something I haven't admitted to a lot of people as well, I have ended up in the hospital due to suicidal tendencies, and it's not something I ever want to go back to. Now, some other things that bipolar can affect, it can affect your mood, so you'll get those really major mood swings, anxiety, sometimes it'll just be hopelessness. I get really distracted very easily, so if I ever space out when we're hanging out, it's not, it's not because of you, it's just my illness at work, and I apologize for that. Behavioral, it can make me very irritable, disorganized, agitated. I could just start crying out of nowhere. That's a little bit frustrating just because it's something I wish I could stop, but I don't really have control over it. Restlessness is a huge one. Especially after I take my medications, which I'll sort of get into what medications for this illness are usually prescribed. I get very restless. I can't sit still. It's almost, if you've ever, this is me admitting something else, I also take edibles from time to time, but since I've started my medications, it intensifies the effects of those medications, so I haven't taken it in a while. But when I take my medications, it's almost like I feel high. I am kind of not all there. The munchies are really bad, which I guess isn't really a bad thing, but I don't feel here. and it's kind of a very scary feeling. It's to the point where I know that I can't physically drive after I've taken my medications for the day, which is why I take them at night. Weight gain and weight loss can be a huge thing in this illness as well, just because you go through those manic and depressive episodes. As far as if bipolar can be cured, it cannot. It's something that can only be managed. It's something that some people may exhibit, very early in life. I personally didn't show any signs until I was about 11 or 12 years old, and even then I didn't know what it was. My parents chalked it up to being just a teenager, a mouthy teenager, and I didn't know. I wasn't diagnosed bipolar until a few weeks ago. And as soon as I was diagnosed, I felt like a lot of things clicked into place, a lot of things started making a whole lot of sense. And it was almost frustrating, because if I had known this whole time, if I had known so much earlier on, I could have been taking medications for it. I could have started to get balanced. I finally sought out help about a month ago, after I was just I was in a depressive state for what felt like a couple months, and it was getting to the point where I was scared for my own safety. So I decided to reach out, and sure enough, a psychologist labeled me bipolar. And I appreciated that she told me this, this doesn't define me, and she's right. My illness does not define who I am as a person. Nobody's illness defines them as a person, because if you've known me growing up, or if you know me these days, you know that I'm generally a very happy person. I'm fun to be around. I laugh a lot. I make so many jokes. So to see me in a depressive state, or you definitely know I'm not myself. And I'm glad that I'm finally getting help for it. Medication-wise for bipolar, most often, and I'm not saying every time, but most often people are prescribed lithium. Pretty much a prescription of lithium. Lithium is kind of a balancer, I guess I'll say. It's a mood stabilizer. And even when I wasn't diagnosed bipolar, I was only diagnosed major depressive, I was given lithium just because I was having highs and lows. Now, not everyone takes lithium. Some people don't take medications at all for their illness, and I think that's completely fine. I think there's other ways to go about managing your illness and your symptoms, and whatever you have to do to make your life better and your life work, do what you need to do. But I currently am on lithium, and my psychologist described my illness as my body and mind is so used to going at 120 miles per hour that it feels normal to me. So when I take lithium, it essentially slows down my way of thinking and my body down to, let's say, 80, which is still fast, but to me it feels like I'm going 30. So I start to drag, I get very lethargic. I actually just had to lower my dosage of lithium just because I was feeling so tired all the time. I was getting in a really depressed state, and my body wasn't handling the medications well. And that's another thing. Medication management, it's a very tricky thing. Finding the right balance for you can take time, and it takes patience. Now, again, everybody takes a different cocktail and different amounts for medications to manage their illness, and that's okay. Just because you take less or you take more of a medication does not change your worth, or it doesn't make you lesser of a person compared to someone else who takes a different dosage of lithium with the same disease. with the same illness. What I really want people to understand is that, like I said, my illness does not define who I am as a person. And I just really want to humanize mental health and mental illness, just because I feel like it's such a taboo subject no one wants to talk about. No one wants to even lay a finger on. And even with recent things that have happened, like Western State Hospital losing its funding, people make the first assumption that, oh my god, they're going to let all these crazy people out, and you have to realize just because they're in a mental health institution doesn't make them less of a person. I'm sure there are people at Western State that have bipolar or depression or anxiety or PTSD, and they could be just like you or I in everyday life, and you wouldn't know they have those illnesses. And like I said, I just really want to humanize mental illness. It doesn't define who we are as people. And next time a friend tries to push you away for some reason and say, I'm sorry, I don't really want to hang out right now, it's nothing against you, what I recommend to do is give them some space, but then check on them. Just because they could be going through an internal struggle that you would not believe. And even if it's just to check in and say hello, or just say, hey, I was thinking about you, I hope you're okay. It means a lot to people just to reach out and just show that you care and that you're thinking about them and that they're not alone. And that's something I really want to remind people, is you're not alone in this world. There are people out there to help you. There are communities to help you. There are resources for you, and I am going to link down in the description below a bunch of those resources that I have personally come across when researching mental health. Like I said, these videos are going to be very emotional. It's going to take a lot of courage for some of these people to sit in front of a camera and answer questions and talk about their struggles, and I hope I see only love and support down in the comments. I just want these people to realize that they are worthy of love, they are worthy of being cared for, worthy of having friends. And I hope that I can help the world realize that everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to be treated as a human being. Thank you guys. I'll see you next week. Bye.